A single father pulls a drowning woman from a raging river, but the child in her arms calls him Daddy. Ethan Cole's world shatters in an instant when he stares into the little girl's eyes and sees his dead wife looking back at him. How is this possible? Before we dive into this heart-stopping mystery, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's begin. That's my daughter. Ethan Cole stood in the hospital corridor, rain dripping from his jacket onto the white linoleum floor, and those 3 words wouldn't stop screaming inside his head. His hands were still shaking, not from the cold river water, not from the adrenaline crash after pulling 2 people from a sinking car, but from what that little girl had whispered when she opened her eyes in his arms. Daddy, the nurse touched his elbow. Mr. Cole, you need to sit down. I'm fine. You're in shock. You just performed a water rescue. I said I'm fine. His voice came out sharper than he intended. He pressed his palm against the cold wall. The girl was maybe 4 years old, dark curls plastered to her face, wide brown eyes, the exact same eyes Sarah had. His Sarah, his wife, dead for 5 years. A doctor appeared from the emergency room. Mr. Cole, the little girl is asking for you. Ethan's stomach dropped. She doesn't know me. She keeps saying Daddy. You assumed wrong. Ethan pushed past him into the room. The little girl sat on the hospital bed, wrapped in heated blankets, her small fingers clutching the hand of the unconscious woman beside her. When Ethan entered, her head snapped up. Those eyes. Daddy. Her voice was small and frightened. Mommy won't wake up. Ethan froze 3 feet from the bed. His throat closed. Sweetheart, I think you're confused. I'm not... You saved us. The girl's lower lip trembled. From the water. Mommy said if anything bad happened, someone would come. She said you'd come. Who told you that? Mommy. The girl looked down at the woman whose face was pale behind the oxygen mask. She showed me your picture. The room tilted. What picture? The one by her bed. She said you were brave. She said... The girl's voice broke into a sob. She said you'd keep us safe. Ethan grabbed the edge of the bed rail. A picture. This woman had a picture of him. A stranger. An unconscious stranger who'd driven her car off Riverside Bridge in the middle of a thunderstorm with a little girl who looked exactly like Sarah. What's your name? Ethan managed. Lily. The world stopped. Lily. Sarah's grandmother's name. The name they'd picked out together years ago when they'd talked about having children. Before the cancer. Before the treatments. Before everything fell apart. Lily. Ethan's voice barely came out. And what's your mommy's name? Grace. Grace Miller. Lily wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Are you really my daddy? I don't... Ethan couldn't finish. He looked at the woman, Grace Miller, seeing her clearly for the first time. Mid-30s. Blonde hair darkened by river water. Bruised cheekbone. Scratches on her arms like she'd been clawing through brambles. She looked like she'd been running long before her car hit that water. A nurse bustled in, checking Grace's vitals. Any family we should contact? I'm not family. The child seems to think, I don't care what the child thinks. Ethan heard how cruel that sounded, saw Lily flinch. He softened his voice. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I think there's been a mistake. No mistake. Grace's voice was hoarse, muffled by the oxygen mask. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused. Lily. Mommy. Lily grabbed her hand tighter. You're awake. Grace turned her head, slowly, eyes landing on Ethan. For a long moment, she just stared. Then her face crumpled with something that looked like relief and terror mixed together. You found us, she whispered. Ma'am, you need to rest, the nurse said, but Grace was trying to sit up, pulling the mask away. How long? Grace demanded. How long was I out? About 30 minutes. You have a concussion. Did anyone follow you here? Grace's eyes were wild now, darting toward the door. Did you see anyone? Ethan stepped closer. Who would follow us? They can't find her. Grace grabbed Lily despite the pain it clearly caused. They can't take her. I won't let them. Ma'am, you're not making sense. Ethan Cole. Grace locked eyes with him, and the way she said his name like she'd said it 1,000 times before made his skin crawl. You're Ethan Cole, firefighter, Station 12. You live at 447 Maple Street. You drink your coffee black. You have a scar on your left shoulder from when you were 8 and fell off your bike trying to jump the creek behind your house. The nurse looked at Ethan. Ethan stared at Grace. How do you know that? His voice came out strangled. Because Sarah told me everything about you. Grace's voice cracked. Your wife, my friend, before she died. The machines beeped steadily. Rain hammered the window. Somewhere down the hall someone paged a doctor, but in that room time stopped. You didn't know Sarah, Ethan said. Yes, I did. I was her nurse at St. Catherine's Hospital in Portland during her last round of treatments. Grace's hand shook as she reached toward him. She made me promise if anything happened to me, I had to find you. I had to bring Lily to you. Why would you bring a stranger's child to me? Because she's not a stranger's child. Grace's eyes filled with tears. Lily is yours, Ethan. Yours and Sarah's. She's your daughter. The room exploded into noise. The nurse calling for the doctor, Lily crying, Grace trying to explain through sobs, but Ethan couldn't hear any of it. He backed toward the door, his vision tunneling. Sarah couldn't have children. The cancer, the chemotherapy, it had destroyed that possibility. They'd mourned it together. They'd accepted it. And then Sarah had died, and Ethan had buried that dream along with her. Mr. Cole, please don't leave. The doctor was in front of him now. We need to sort this out. There's nothing to sort out. Ethan's voice didn't sound like his own. She's confused. Head trauma. I know exactly what I'm saying. Grace was trying to get out of bed now, and it took 2 nurses to hold her down. The embryos, Ethan, the ones you and Sarah stored before her treatment, St. Catherine's kept them. They weren't supposed to, but they did, and they used them. And Lily. That's enough. The doctor's voice was sharp. Ms. Miller, you need to calm down. But Grace wouldn't stop. They're coming for her, Ethan, the people from the hospital. They know I figured out what they did, and they know I took her, and they won't stop. The sedative hit her bloodstream. Her words slurred. Her eyes rolled back. Within seconds, she was unconscious again. Lily screamed, Mommy! Mommy! Wake up! Ethan stood frozen, his back against the door, watching this little girl sob over a woman who claimed his dead wife had known her, claimed this child was his, claimed people were hunting them. A police officer appeared beside him. Sir, we need to ask you some questions about the accident. It wasn't an accident. The words came out before Ethan could stop them. She drove off that bridge on purpose. I saw her. She accelerated. The officer's expression hardened. Are you saying... I'm saying she was running from something. Ethan looked at Lily, who had buried her face in Grace's hospital gown. And I think that little girl knows what. Ethan sat in a plastic chair in the hallway. His wet clothes were starting to smell like the river mud and algae and something metallic. A detective sat across from him, notebook open. Walk me through it again, Detective Torres said. From the beginning. I was driving home from a double shift, saw the car swerve on Riverside Bridge. Tires screeched. The vehicle punched through the guardrail. Ethan rubbed his face. I called it in, pulled over, ran down the embankment. You didn't see another vehicle. It was a storm. Visibility was maybe 20 feet, but I saw her face through the windshield before she went over. Ethan met Torres's gaze. She wasn't panicking. She knew what she was doing. Suicide attempt? Escape attempt? Ethan leaned forward. There's a difference. Torres studied him. The woman Grace Miller, she has no ID, no wallet, no phone, no registration. The car was stolen, reported missing from Seattle 3 days ago. Seattle? That's 4 hours from here. She's been running for a while. Torres flipped through her notes. And the story she told you about your wife, about the child you think that's real or delusion, Ethan wanted to say delusion, wanted to call it crazy and walk away, but he couldn't stop seeing Lily's face, those eyes, that name. I don't know, he admitted, but I'm going to find out. Mr. Cole, this is now an active investigation. Child Protective Services has been called. No. Ethan stood up. Not yet. Sir, we have protocols. Give me 24 hours. Ethan wasn't sure where the words came from. Let me figure out if what she's saying is true. If Lily is really my daughter, you can't just throw her into the system. And if Grace is really running from something, putting them in the system might be exactly what whoever's chasing them wants. Torres stared at him. You're asking me to delay protocol. I'm asking you to protect a child who might be in more danger if you don't. Ethan's voice was steady now. You saw that woman's face, the bruises, the fear. She wasn't running from a bad boyfriend. Until we know what she was running from, that little girl needs someone who can keep her safe. And you think that's you. I just pulled them out of a river. Yeah, detective, I think that's me. Torres closed her notebook, sighed. 24 hours, but you don't take that child anywhere without notifying me first. Thank you. Inside the room, Lily had cried herself to sleep curled against Grace's side. A social worker sat in the corner. "Mr. Cole," she said quietly, "I'm Rebecca Nash. We need to discuss temporary placement." "She's staying with me." Rebecca blinked. "I'm sorry." "You heard me. Until we figure out what's going on, Lily stays with me." Ethan moved to the bed. "I'm a firefighter, background checked, clean record, stable home. And if there's even a chance that what Grace said is true, then Lily is my responsibility." "That's not how this works." "Then make it work." Ethan's voice was steel. "Call your supervisor. I don't care. But I'm not letting that little girl wake up alone after what she's been through." Rebecca pulled out her phone. "I'll make some calls." By dawn, the paperwork was signed. Temporary emergency custody. Ethan barely remembered signing his name. He just remembered Lily waking up seeing Grace still unconscious and reaching for him with tears streaming down her face. "Is Mommy going to die?" she whispered. "No, sweetheart, she's just sleeping." Ethan crouched beside the bed. "She'll wake up soon." "Promise." Ethan looked at this child who called him Daddy, who trusted him, and felt something crack open in his chest. Something he'd sealed shut 5 years ago. "I promise," he said. "And when she does, we're going to figure all of this out. Together. Okay." Lily nodded, then crawled off the bed and wrapped her arms around Ethan's neck. She smelled like river water and hospital soap and something sweet. Like Sarah used to smell in the morning before the sickness took everything. "Can we go home now?" Lily asked against his shoulder. Home? Ethan's house. The place he'd shared with Sarah. The place he'd kept exactly the same for 5 years. "Yeah," Ethan said, his voice rough. "Let's go home." The drive back to Maple Street was quiet. Lily sat in the back seat in a hospital car seat, staring out at the rain-soaked town as dawn broke pink and gold over the mountains. Ethan kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror. Every time she moved her hand, it was Sarah's gesture. Every time she tilted her head, it was Sarah's angle. His phone rang. Jenna, his sister. "You saved people from a river and didn't call me. She didn't wait for hello. It's all over the news. Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "The news said there was a woman and a child. They're alive." Ethan pulled into his driveway. "Jenna, I need to tell you something, but not now. I'll call you later." "Ethan, what's going on?" "Later?" He hung up. Inside the house, Lily stood in the living room and went completely still. Ethan saw it through her eyes, Sarah's photos on every wall, her books on the shelves, her favorite blanket draped over the couch. A thin layer of dust covered everything. The air smelled stale, like a place that hadn't been truly lived in for years. "You loved her a lot," Lily said quietly. Ethan's throat tightened. "Yeah. Mommy said you did. She said you loved her so much it hurt." Lily walked to the mantel. Her fingers hovered over the wedding photo, but didn't touch it like she was afraid. "That's her, right? That's Sarah?" "That's her." Lily nodded. "Mommy said I have her eyes." Ethan knelt beside her. "Lily, I need you to tell me something. The truth, okay? Okay?" "Why was your mommy running Who's Trying to Hurt You?" Lily's face crumpled. Her whole body went rigid like she was bracing for a blow. "The bad doctors." "What bad doctors?" "From the hospital where I was born." Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. "Mommy worked there. She said they did something wrong. Something with babies. And when she found out, she got scared. She said they'd take me away." Lily looked up at him with those brown eyes, Sarah's eyes. "But they kept finding us. Every time we moved. Every time Mommy thought we were safe. So she said we had to come here. To you. Because you could protect us." Ethan's hands clenched. "How long have you been running?" "Since my birthday, 3 months ago." 3 months? A 4-year-old child running for 3 months, sleeping in cars, always looking over her shoulder. Lily suddenly flinched. A branch scraped against the window and she jumped, pressing herself against Ethan's leg. "It's okay," Ethan said softly. "It's just the wind." But Lily was already moving to the window, peering out through the curtain the way someone much older would. Checking. Always checking. "Lily," Ethan kept his voice gentle, "did your mommy ever tell you where you came from, how you were born?" Lily nodded slowly. "She said I was a miracle baby. She said I was made with love, from people who wanted me very much. She said my first mommy couldn't keep me because she got sick and went to heaven, but before she went to heaven she made sure I would exist. And my second mommy, Grace, she promised to take care of me." Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks. Is it true? Is Sarah my first mommy? Are you really my daddy? Ethan pulled her close. I don't know yet, sweetheart, but I'm going to find out, I promise. He made pancakes, 3 of them, because he didn't know if Lily would be hungry. She ate all 3 without saying a word, then drank her orange juice in careful sips, watching him the whole time, like she was afraid he'd disappear. In the attic, Ethan found a box of clothes Jenna's kids had outgrown. He brought it down, and Lily changed out of the hospital scrubs into a pink t-shirt and jeans that were slightly too big. She rolled up the cuffs without complaint. These are good, she said. Thank you. Too polite, too careful, like a child who'd learned early that making trouble meant moving again. While Lily colored at the kitchen table with old crayons Ethan dug out of a drawer, he made phone calls. The first was to St. Catherine's Hospital in Portland. I need information about a patient, Ethan said. Sarah Cole. She was treated there about 6 years ago. I'm sorry, sir, but I can't give out patient information. I'm her husband. I need to know about embryos we stored. Who has access to those records? Sir, you'd need to speak with our fertility clinic directly, but they're closed until Monday. Monday, 2 days away. Ethan hung up and called a lawyer Jenna had recommended once. I need you to pull medical records, Ethan said. Fast. I think someone used my wife's embryos without permission. The lawyer was quiet for a moment. That's a serious allegation. Do you have proof? Not yet, but I will. Next he called Detective Torres. We found Grace Miller's real identity, Torres said immediately. Her name is Grace Sullivan. She was a nurse at St. Catherine's until 4 months ago. Then she disappeared. The hospital reported her missing. Ethan's pulse kicked up. Did they say why she left? No official reason, but I talked to some of her former co-workers, off the record. Torres paused. They said Grace had been acting strange the last few weeks before she vanished, asking questions about patient records, about hospital protocols. One nurse said Grace told her she'd discovered something wrong with the fertility clinic, something illegal. What kind of illegal? The nurse didn't know. Grace wouldn't say. But 2 days after that conversation, Grace was gone, cleared out her apartment in the middle of the night. And Lily, birth certificate lists Grace Sullivan as the mother, father unknown. But here's the thing. Torres's voice got quieter. According to medical records, Grace Sullivan was never pregnant. No prenatal visits, no delivery records, nothing. Which means either those records were scrubbed or Lily was born to someone else and Grace took her. Ethan looked across the room. Lily had abandoned the crayons and was sitting perfectly still, staring at the back door, listening. I think Grace was telling the truth, Ethan said quietly. I think St. Catherine's did something illegal with stored embryos. I think Grace found out and ran with Lily. That's a hell of an accusation. Can you think of a better explanation? Torres was silent. We're pulling records from St. Catherine's fertility clinic, but that's going to take time. Legal red tape, medical privacy laws could be weeks. We don't have weeks. Grace said they were coming. Then keep that little girl safe, Mr. Cole. I'll be in touch. The call ended. Ethan sat on the couch staring at his phone, feeling like he was drowning again. Ethan, Lily's small voice broke through. Can I ask you something? Of course. If I'm really your daughter, does that mean you'll keep me even after all this is over? Ethan's heart shattered. This little girl who'd been running her whole life was asking if he'd abandon her. He crossed the room, knelt beside her, and took her small hands in his. Lily, listen to me. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the truth is yet. But I promise you this, you are not alone. Do you understand? You are not alone. Lily threw her arms around him, and Ethan held her tight, this child who looked like Sarah, who might be Sarah's final gift to him. That night, Lily fell asleep on the couch wrapped in Sarah's old blanket. Ethan carried her upstairs to the guest room, tucked her in, and stood in the doorway, watching her breathe. In sleep, she looked even more like Sarah, the curve of her cheek, the way her hand curled under her chin. He was about to leave when Lily whispered, "Don't go. I'm right across the hall. Please." Her voice was so small. I don't want to be alone. So Ethan pulled the rocking chair from the corner and sat beside the bed. He stayed there all night, listening to Lily breathe, watching shadows move across the ceiling. At 3 a.m, headlights swept across the window. Ethan went completely still. A car pulled up to the curb across the street. Dark sedan. Tinted windows. The engine cut off. Nobody got out. Ethan moved to the window, staying in the shadows. The car just sat there, waiting. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We know you have her. Give her back and nobody gets hurt." Ethan's blood went cold. He texted back, "Who is this?" No response. Outside, the car's engine started again. It pulled away slowly, deliberately, like a promise, like a threat. Ethan looked at Lily sleeping peacefully for the first time in who knows how long, and knew with absolute certainty that Grace had been telling the truth. They were being hunted, and whoever they were, they'd just found them. He pulled out his phone and called Torres. It rang 4 times before she answered, voice thick with sleep. "This better be good, Cole." "They found us," Ethan said. "Whoever Grace was running from, they're here." Torres arrived 20 minutes later with 2 patrol cars. No sirens, no lights, just the quiet crunch of tires on gravel and the soft click of car doors closing. Ethan met her on the porch, finger to his lips. "She's finally sleeping," he said. Torres nodded, motioning for the officers to canvass the perimeter. She followed Ethan inside, pulling out her phone. "Show me the text." Ethan handed over his phone. Torres read the message twice, her jaw tightening. "We know you have her. Give her back and nobody gets hurt." She looked up. "They're not even pretending anymore. Can you trace it?" "Already sent it to our tech, but if they're smart, it's a burner." Torres walked to the windows, peered out at the empty street. "Describe the car again." "Dark sedan, maybe a Nissan, tinted windows, sat there for maybe 5 minutes, then left right after I got the text. License plate, too dark, I couldn't see." Torres made a note. "I'm posting an officer outside tonight. Tomorrow we're moving you to a safe house." "No." Ethan's voice was firm. "Moving makes us vulnerable. Here I know every exit, every neighbor, every sound. And Lily just fell asleep for the first time since the accident. I'm not waking her up to run again. That's all she's done for 3 months." "Mr. Cole." "She's 4 years old, Detective. 4. And she checks the windows like a combat vet checking for snipers. You know what that means? It means whoever's after them has gotten close before. Close enough to scare a child into being hypervigilant." Ethan stepped closer. "So no, we're not running. Not yet. Not until I understand what we're running from." Torres studied him for a long moment. "You're a stubborn man." "I'm a firefighter. We run toward fires, not away from them." "This isn't a fire. This is something worse." But Torres nodded. "Fine. Officer stays outside. I'll have someone watching the back, too. But the second something feels wrong, you call me. Not 911. Me directly." "Deal?" Torres started to leave, then stopped. "Cole, that little girl upstairs, you really think she's yours?" Ethan looked toward the staircase. "I think Sarah wanted a child more than anything in this world. And I think if there was even the smallest chance that child could exist, she'd have made sure it happened, even if it meant I wouldn't know about it until now." "That's a hell of a thing to process." "Yeah," Ethan's voice cracked. "It is." After Torres left, Ethan made coffee he didn't drink and stood at the kitchen window watching the patrol car parked across the street. The officer inside was a kid maybe 25 scrolling through his phone. Ethan wanted to feel safe. Instead, he felt exposed. His phone rang. Jenna. "Don't hang up on me this time," she said immediately. "I've been calling all day. Mom's been calling. Everyone's worried sick." "I know. I'm sorry." "Ethan, what's going on?" "The news said you pulled a woman and child from the river, but they won't release names. And now there are rumors all over town about you taking in some little girl. Is it true?" Ethan closed his eyes. "Her name is Lily." "Who is she?" "I don't know yet. Maybe nobody. Maybe..." His voice broke. "Maybe Sarah's daughter." Silence on the other end. Then quietly, "What?" "The woman I pulled out, she was Sarah's nurse in Portland. She says Lily was born from our stored embryos. She says St. Catherine's used them without permission, and she found out and ran." Ethan pressed his forehead against the cold window glass. "And Jenna, when I look at this kid, I see Sarah. It's not just resemblance. It's like Sarah's looking back at me through her eyes." "Oh my God." Jenna's voice was shaking. "Ethan, if this is true..." "I know." "No, you don't know. If this is true, that hospital committed fraud, medical malpractice, theft of biological material. This is massive." Jenna was a paralegal, and Ethan could hear her mind racing. "You need a lawyer, a good one, and you need to get DNA testing done immediately." "I can't think about lawyers right now. Someone's threatening us. They know I have Lily. They want her back." "Who wants her back?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Ethan turned away from the window. "But whoever they are, they're willing to send threatening text in the middle of the night. They're willing to hunt a 4-year-old child across state lines. That tells me they have something big to hide." Then you need to go to the police. I did. Detective's outside right now. Ethan heard a creak upstairs. I have to go. I'll call you tomorrow. Ethan, wait. He hung up and took the stairs 2 at a time. Lily's room was empty. Panic seized his chest. Lily. In here. Her small voice came from across the hall. Ethan found her in his bedroom, standing in front of Sarah's dresser. The top drawer was open. Lily held something in her hands. I'm sorry, Lily whispered. I woke up and you weren't there, and I got scared, and I came looking for you, and then I saw this room, and... She held up what she was holding. A photograph. This is her, isn't it? This is Sarah. It was their honeymoon photo. Sarah on a beach in Mexico, laughing her hair wild in the wind. Ethan had kept it in that drawer because looking at it every day hurt too much. Yeah, Ethan managed. That's her. She's really pretty. Lily traced Sarah's face with one finger. Mommy showed me pictures, but they were small. This one's big. I can see her better. She looked up at Ethan. Do I really look like her? Ethan knelt down. You have her eyes, and her smile, and the way you tilt your head when you're thinking that's exactly what she used to do. Really? Really. Lily set the photo down carefully, then walked to the bed. She climbed up and sat cross-legged on Sarah's side, the side Ethan hadn't touched in 5 years. Can I sleep here? Lily asked. With you, I don't like being alone. Every instinct told Ethan to say no. This was his and Sarah's space. Sacred space. Untouched space. But then he looked at Lily's face so small and frightened and remembered what Torres had said. She checks the windows like a combat vet. Yeah, Ethan said softly. You can sleep here. He grabbed a blanket from the closet and made a spot on the floor. What are you doing? Lily asked. Making a bed. Why, the bed's big enough for both of us. I don't... Ethan stopped. How did you explain to a 4-year-old that you couldn't sleep in your own bed because your dead wife's ghost still lived there? I'm used to the floor. That's silly. Lily patted the mattress. Mommy says you should always sleep in a real bed if you can. She says we don't know when we'll have to sleep in the car again. The casual way she said it broke Ethan's heart. He climbed into bed, staying on his side, keeping a careful distance. Lily immediately scooted closer, pressed against his arm like a small furnace. Thank you, she whispered, for letting me stay, for keeping me safe. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. Mommy says we always say thank you when people are kind, because kindness is rare. Ethan wanted to tell her that wasn't true, that kindness wasn't rare, but then he remembered this child had spent 3 months running hiding, watching her mother jump at shadows. Maybe for Lily, kindness was rare. Go to sleep, Ethan said gently. I'll be right here. Lily's breathing evened out within minutes, but Ethan stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of this small body against his arm. It felt right. It felt terrifying. It felt like Sarah had reached across death and handed him the one thing they'd both wanted most. A child. His phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Last chance. Bring the girl to Harbor Park tomorrow at noon. Come alone, or we come for her. Ethan's jaw clenched. He texted back, who are you? You, this time, a response came immediately. People who own her. She's our property. Our mistake to correct. Property. They'd called a 4-year-old child property. Ethan's hands shook with rage as he typed, she's not property. She's a person. She's a liability. And you're making a mistake protecting her. Try to take her and find out what kind of mistake I am. No response after that. Ethan forwarded the text to Torres, then forced himself to put the phone down. Tomorrow. They wanted Lily tomorrow, which meant tonight was safe. Probably. He hoped. He must have dozed off because the next thing he knew, sunlight was streaming through the window and Lily was gone. Ethan bolted upright, heart pounding. Lily! Down here? Her voice floated up from downstairs. I'm making breakfast. Ethan threw on a shirt and ran down to find Lily standing on a chair at the stove, carefully flipping something in a pan. The officer from last night stood in the doorway looking both amused and concerned. She told me she knew how to cook, the officer said. I figured I should supervise. I make scrambled eggs really good, Lily said proudly. Mommy taught me. She said I have to know how to take care of myself just in case. Her smile faded. Just in case something happened to her. Ethan lifted Lily down from the chair. That's very impressive, but how about I help? Okay. Lily handed him the spatula. But don't let them burn. Mommy hates burned eggs. Grace. Lily meant Grace. But the way she said it, the automatic present tense, told Ethan that Lily wasn't ready to accept the possibility that Grace might not wake up. They ate breakfast together while the officer did a perimeter check. Lily talked between bites, telling stories about places she and Grace had lived. A motel in Sacramento where the pool was shaped like a kidney bean. An apartment in Eugene where they could hear trains at night. A woman's house in Spokane who let them stay for 2 weeks before she got scared and asked them to leave. "Why'd she get scared?" Ethan asked. Lily's face went blank. "A man came asking questions. About Mommy. About me? The woman told us to go. She was crying. She said she was sorry, but she had kids of her own to protect." "What did the man look like?" "I don't know. Mommy made me hide in the closet, but I heard his voice. It was..." Lily shivered. "It was cold, like when you talk but you don't really care about the person you're talking to." Ethan's grip tightened on his fork. "Did you hear what he said?" "He said Mommy had something that didn't belong to her. He said if she gave it back, everything would be fine. But Mommy said she'd never give me back. Never." Lily looked up at Ethan. "That's when I knew. That's when I knew they wanted me." "When was this, 6 weeks ago, maybe? We left that night, drove all night. Mommy was crying." Lily pushed her eggs around her plate. "She cries a lot now. She tries to hide it, but I hear her." Before Ethan could respond, his phone rang. The hospital. "Mr. Cole, this is Dr. Patel from St. Mary's. Grace Sullivan is awake and asking for you. She's quite agitated. Can you come in?" "We'll be there in 20 minutes. Lily's face lit up. "Mommy's awake." "Yeah, sweetheart, she's awake." The drive to the hospital felt longer than it was. Lily pressed her face to the window, watching every car, every person. When they pulled into the parking lot, she grabbed Ethan's hand and didn't let go. Grace was sitting up in bed, looking thin and pale, but alert. When she saw Lily, her face crumpled. "Baby," Grace whispered, arms outstretched. Lily ran to her and Grace pulled her close, rocking her, crying into her hair. I'm so sorry. I should have been more careful. I should have." "It's okay, Mommy. Ethan saved us, just like you said he would." Grace looked at Ethan over Lily's head. Her eyes were red but sharp, calculating. "Thank you for pulling us out, for keeping her safe." "We need to talk," Ethan said, "about what's really going on." "I know." Grace kissed the top of Lily's head. "Baby, can you go with the nurse for a minute? She has some coloring books." "I don't want to leave you." "I know, but I need to talk to Ethan about grown-up stuff. You'll be right outside, I promise." Grace looked at the nurse, who nodded and held out her hand. Lily reluctantly took it, looking back twice before the door closed. The moment they were alone, Grace's expression hardened. "Did they contact you?" "Yes, texts threatening to take Lily." "They will. They'll do whatever it takes." Grace struggled to sit up straighter. "I need to explain everything. Fast, because we don't have much time." "I'm listening." "I was a nurse at St. Catherine's Hospital, labor and delivery mostly, but I also worked with the fertility clinic, filing paperwork, organizing records, boring stuff." Grace's hands twisted in the blanket. About 8 months ago, I was filing patient records when I found a discrepancy. A patient who'd supposedly delivered a baby, but there were no prenatal records, no appointments, nothing, like she'd just appeared 9 months pregnant and delivered. That's not possible. Exactly. So I dug deeper, found 6 more cases just like it, women with babies but no pregnancies. And then I found the other records, the hidden ones. Grace's voice dropped. St. Catherine's had been using stored embryos without consent, taking embryos from patients who'd stored them and implanting them in surrogates. Ethan felt sick. Why? Money. These weren't random surrogates. They were wealthy women who wanted babies but couldn't or wouldn't carry them. The clinic was charging $500,000 per successful implantation. They'd match embryos based on genetic markers, physical characteristics. They were basically running an underground designer baby operation. That's illegal. That's a multi-million-dollar business. Grace's eyes blazed. And when I found out I didn't know what to do, I went to my supervisor. She told me to forget what I saw, offered me money, a lot of money, to just look the other way. But you didn't. No, I kept digging, and that's when I found your wife's file. Grace pulled a small USB drive from under her pillow. Sarah Cole, embryos stored in 2018, 6 viable embryos. In 2021, 1 was used. The surrogate was scheduled the implantation successful, but then something happened. The surrogate died. Car accident, 32 weeks pregnant. Ethan's breath stopped. The baby. Emergency C-section. Baby survived. Grace's voice shook. That baby was Lily. The room spun. Ethan gripped the bed rail. The surrogate died, and you took her. The clinic panicked. Suddenly they had a baby that shouldn't exist from embryos they'd used illegally. The plan was to claim she died with the mother. Falsify records. Make it all disappear. Grace's eyes filled with tears. But I was there that night. I saw them pull her out. I saw her breathe. And I couldn't let them kill her, Ethan. I couldn't. So you took her. I took her and I ran, forged a birth certificate, created a new identity, moved every time they got close. Grace grabbed Ethan's arm. Your wife Sarah, I knew her. She came to St. Catherine's for treatment. We talked sometimes. She told me about you, about how much she wanted a family. She showed me pictures. And when I found out her embryo had been used when I was holding Lily for the first time, her voice broke. I made a promise. I promised Sarah, wherever she was, that I'd protect her daughter. That if anything happened to me, I'd find you and make sure Lily was safe. Ethan's vision blurred. Why didn't you come to me sooner? Because they were watching you, the clinic knew about you. They had your address, your work schedule, everything. If I'd come straight to you, they'd have been waiting. I had to make sure they lost my trail first. But they never stopped looking. They've been hunting us for 4 years. Who's they? Who's running this? Hot Dr. Richard Vance. He owns St. Catherine's, and he has connections. Lawyers, judges, cops. People who make problems disappear. Grace pressed the USB drive into Ethan's hand. Everything's on here. Names, dates, financial records. Enough to bury him. But you have to get it to the right people. People he hasn't bought. Torres. Detective Torres seems clean. Then give it to her. But Ethan... Grace gripped his hand. You have to understand. These people won't stop. They've killed to protect this secret. The surrogate who died? That wasn't an accident. 2 nurses who asked too many questions, both dead. Suicide, they said. But I know better. We'll go to the FBI, state police, someone... It has to be airtight. One wrong move and they'll bury the evidence and come after Lily harder. Grace's voice was fierce. Promise me. Promise me you'll protect her. I promise. And promise me, Grace's eyes bored into his, if something happens to me, you'll keep her. You won't let her go into the system. She's yours, Ethan. Genetically, legally, once we prove it emotionally, she's your daughter. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me anyway. Ethan looked at this woman who'd given up everything to save a child who wasn't biologically hers, who'd run for 4 years living in fear all to keep a promise to a woman she barely knew. I promise, Ethan said. I'll keep her safe, no matter what. The door burst open. Lily ran in, the nurse hurrying after her. I'm sorry, it's okay. Grace opened her arms and Lily climbed onto the bed. What's wrong, baby? There's a man downstairs. Lily's voice was shaking. I saw him through the window. He was taking pictures of the parking lot, of Ethan's truck. Ethan's blood went cold. He moved to the window, looked down. A man in a gray suit stood by a black sedan. Phone raised. Definitely taking photos. Ethan pulled out his phone and called Torres. We've got a problem. She answered immediately. What kind of problem? Someone's watching us at the hospital. Gray suit, black sedan, taking pictures. I'll send a unit. Don't leave that room. But it was too late. The man looked up, saw Ethan at the window, and smiled. A cold, predatory smile. Then he got in his car and drove away. He knows we saw him, Grace whispered. That was a message. They're not hiding anymore. Ethan pulled the curtains closed. His mind raced. Harbor Park? Noon? The meeting they'd demanded? Was it a trap? Of course it was. But maybe, just maybe, it was also an opportunity. I have an idea, Ethan said slowly. But it's risky. Grace looked at him. Tell me. They want me to bring Lily to Harbor Park at noon, alone. Ethan met Grace's eyes. What if I set up a meeting, wear a wire, get them to confess everything? With Torres listening in, we'd have them. That's insane. They'll kill you. Not if Torres has officers surrounding the park. Not if we do this right. Ethan's voice was steady. Grace, you gave me evidence. Now we need a confession. Something concrete. Something they can't explain away with lawyers. And if something goes wrong, then Torres moves in early, but this might be our only shot to end this. To make Lily safe. Really safe. Grace looked at Lily, who was watching them both with wide, frightened eyes. Then she looked back at Ethan. Do it, Grace said. But promise me one thing. If it goes wrong, you run. You take Lily and you run and you don't look back. It won't go wrong. Promise me anyway. I promise." Ethan called Torres back and explained the plan. She was silent for a long moment. "This is the stupidest idea I've heard all week," Torres finally said, "which means it might actually work. I'll have a team in position by 11:30. You wear a wire. You keep them talking. And Cole, don't be a hero. If things go sideways, you hit the ground and let my people handle it." "Got it." Torres paused. "That little girl's lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," Ethan said, looking at Lily. "Trust me." At 11 o'clock, Torres met Ethan in the hospital parking lot with the wire. She threaded it under his shirt herself, her movements quick and professional. "Testing," she said into her radio. "Can you hear him?" "Loud and clear," a voice crackled back. Torres stepped back and looked Ethan in the eye. "You remember the signal? I say I understand and you move in. And if you can't say it, I hit the ground? Good." Torres handed him an earpiece nearly invisible. "We'll be listening the whole time. 4 unmarked cars, 8 officers. 2 in the trees with long-range rifles. You're not as alone as it's going to look." "What about Lily and Grace?" "Officer Chen stays with them, armed. Nobody gets past her." Torres put her hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Cole, I want you to know something. What you're doing, it's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. I haven't decided which yet. Maybe both." "Yeah, maybe both." Torres's expression softened. "That little girl, she called you Daddy this morning. Did you know that—" Ethan's throat tightened. "She's been calling me that since the accident." "No, I mean she said it differently this time. Not like a question, like a fact." Torres squeezed his shoulder once, then let go. "Don't make her wrong about you. Come back." Ethan went back inside to say goodbye. Grace was sitting up, looking stronger despite the IV still in her arm. Lily sat beside her, holding her hand. "I don't want you to go," Lily said when Ethan entered. Her voice was small but firm. "I know, but I have to." Why do you have to meet the bad men?" Ethan knelt in front of her. "Because sometimes the only way to stop bad people is to face them, and I need them to tell me the truth so the police can help us." "What if they hurt you?" "They won't. I have a lot of friends watching my back." "But what if they do?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "What if you don't come back? Everybody leaves. My first mommy left. The lady in Spokane left. What if you leave too?" Ethan pulled her close. She smelled like the hospital soap and something sweeter, something that reminded him of Sarah. "Listen to me, Lily. I'm coming back. I promise. You know why. Why? Because you and I were just getting started. We haven't even had our first pancake breakfast where I let you put way too much syrup on them. We haven't watched cartoons together. We haven't done any of the important stuff yet." Ethan brushed a curl out of her face. "So I have to come back. We've got too much to do." Lily threw her arms around his neck. "You promise?" "I promise." Grace met his eyes over Lily's head. "Be careful," she mouthed. Ethan nodded, then gently untangled himself from Lily's grip. "I'll be back before you know it. And when I get back, maybe we can go see if the cafeteria has those terrible cookies you like. They're not terrible, you just have bad taste." Ethan smiled despite the knot in his stomach. "Yeah, maybe I do." He left before he could change his mind. Harbor Park sat on the edge of town where the river bent east. Picnic tables scattered under oak trees, a playground with swings that squeaked in the wind. Empty on a Tuesday morning, except for one black sedan parked near the boat launch. Ethan pulled in at 11:55. His heart hammered against his ribs. The wire felt like it was burning against his skin. "We see you?" Torres's voice whispered in his ear. "2 occupants in the sedan, male. Stay in your truck until they approach." Ethan waited. The seconds crawled. At exactly noon, both doors of the sedan opened. 2 men got out. The first was tall, maybe 6'3", with silver hair and an expensive suit that looked out of place in a riverside park. The second was younger, built like he spent his life in a gym wearing jeans and a leather jacket. They walked toward Ethan's truck. The older man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Ethan got out. "Mr. Cole?" The older man extended his hand. "I'm Dr. Richard Vance. Thank you for coming." Ethan didn't take the hand. "Where's the girl you want so badly?" Vance's smile faded. "Let's not be hostile. We're all reasonable people here." "Reasonable people don't threaten children." "Threaten?" Vance looked genuinely puzzled. "Mr. Cole, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We're not here to threaten anyone. We're here to correct a mistake." What mistake? The child, Lily. Vance said her name like it tasted bad. She shouldn't exist. Her existence is the result of an unfortunate accident at our facility. Accident? Ethan kept his voice level. You used my wife's embryos without permission, and you're calling it an accident. Your wife signed consent forms. To store embryos, not to use them. Vance's expression hardened slightly. The forms were comprehensive. Perhaps you didn't read them carefully. I read them. My lawyer read them. There was no consent for what you did. The younger man shifted his hand, moving toward his jacket. Torres's voice crackled in Ethan's ear. We see him. Stay calm. Vance held up a hand, stopping his associate. Marcus, please. We're having a conversation. He turned back to Ethan. Mr. Cole, let's be frank. The child was created as part of a program at St. Catherine's. A program that, yes, operated in a legal gray area. But the child was never meant to be yours. She was promised to another family, a family that paid a substantial amount of money for her. You sold my daughter. We fulfilled a contract. Vance's voice was ice. The surrogate's death complicated things. And then Grace Sullivan, in a moment of misguided heroism, took the child. For 4 years, we've been trying to rectify the situation quietly, but Grace made that impossible. By running? By protecting a child from people who wanted to erase her child, by stealing property. Vance stepped closer. Mr. Cole, I'm going to make this very simple. The child is not legally yours. Her birth certificate lists Grace Sullivan as the mother. There's no record connecting her to you or your late wife. If this goes to court, you'll lose. But I'm a reasonable man. I'm willing to make this go away. Give us the child. We'll compensate you for your time. Say $50,000. You walk away, forget this ever happened, and everyone's happy. Ethan's hands clenched. You want me to sell you a 4-year-old child for $50,000? I'm offering you a way out of a very complicated legal situation. And if I say no, huh? Vance's smile returned colder this time. Then things become difficult. For you, for Grace Sullivan, for everyone involved. You're a firefighter, Mr. Cole. Good job. Stable. Respected in the community. It would be a shame if questions arose about your fitness to care for a child. Questions about your mental state after your wife's death. Questions about whether you coerced a vulnerable woman recovering from a car accident into giving you her child. That's a lie. Is it can you prove it because I have lawyers who can make any story sound convincing? Vance's voice dropped. I have friends in family services, friends in the police department, friends who can make your life very, very difficult. Torres's voice in Ethan's ear. Keep him talking. We need more. Why? Ethan asked. Why go through all this for one child? Because if word gets out about what happened about our program, we're finished. St. Catherine's is finished. 20 years of work, hundreds of successful placements, all destroyed because of one mistake. Vance's mask slipped, and Ethan saw something dangerous underneath. I've built an empire, Mr. Cole. I've helped desperate people have children. I've created families. And I will not let one misguided nurse and a stubborn firefighter tear that down. You mean you've sold embryos that weren't yours. You've trafficked children. I've facilitated a service people wanted. Without consent, that's not a service, that's theft. Marcus spoke for the first time, his voice gravelly. This is going nowhere. Let me handle it. Vance held up a hand again. Patience. He focused on Ethan. Last chance, Mr. Cole. Take the money, give us the child, walk away. No. You want Lily? You're going to have to go through me. Vance sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. He nodded to Marcus. Marcus's hand went into his jacket. Ethan's muscles tensed, ready to drop. But Marcus didn't pull a weapon. He pulled out a phone and showed Ethan the screen. It was a live video feed. The hospital. Grace's room. Officer Chen standing guard outside. One phone call, Vance said quietly. That's all it takes. My associate is in the hospital right now. He's very good at making problems disappear, so you're going to do exactly what I say. You're going to get in your truck, you're going to go get the child, you're going to bring her back here. And if you say one word to the police, if you try anything clever, my associate will walk into that room and neither Grace Sullivan nor your officer friend will walk out. Ethan's blood turned to ice. Torres's voice, Cole, do not engage, we're moving. But Vance was still talking. You have 30 minutes. Clock starts now. Ethan looked at the phone screen at Officer Chen standing unaware and made a decision. I understand, he said clearly. The signal. Vance frowned. What? I said I understand. Ethan took a step back. I understand you just confessed to conspiracy child trafficking and making a terroristic threat against a police officer. Did you get all that, Detective Torres? Vance's face went white. Marcus reached for something under his jacket, but before he could draw it, 3 patrol cars roared into the parking lot, blocking all exits. Officers poured out, weapons drawn. Hands where we can see them, Torres shouted, her gun trained on Marcus. Now! Marcus froze. Vance spun, looking for an exit, but there was nowhere to go. Officers surrounded them. Dr. Richard Vance, Torres said, approaching with handcuffs. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit child trafficking, making terroristic threats, and being a smug asshole in a public park. That last one's not official, but I'm working on it. Vance's face contorted with rage. You have no idea what you've done. I have lawyers, I have friends, I'll be out by tonight. Maybe. Torres snapped the cuffs on. But your friend at the hospital, the one who was supposed to make problems disappear, we picked him up 5 minutes ago in the parking garage. Turns out he had a very interesting phone full of very incriminating texts from you, so maybe your lawyers aren't as good as you think. Vance's expression crumbled. The mask shattered completely. This is over for you, he spat at Ethan. All of you. I'll bury you. You'll shut up, Torres said. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. She hauled Vance toward a patrol car while 2 other officers cuffed Marcus. Ethan stood frozen, his legs shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Torres came back, pulled the wire from under Ethan's shirt. You did good, Cole. Real good. We got everything. The guy at the hospital. In custody. Officer Chen never knew he was there. Your kid's safe. Grace is safe. Everybody's safe. Torres smiled. Well, except for the bad guys. They're pretty screwed. Ethan's knees buckled. Torres caught his arm. Whoa, easy. Come on, let's sit you down. I'm fine. You're not fine. You just went toe-to-toe with a man who's killed to protect his secrets. You get to not be fine for a minute. Torres guided him to a picnic table. Sit, breathe. I'll have someone bring you water. Ethan sat. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Torres was right. He wasn't fine. He'd just risked everything bet on a wire and a plan and Torres keeping her word. And it had worked. Somehow, impossibly, it had worked. Cole. Torres sat across from him. What you did today that took guts, but you should know this isn't over. Vance is going to lawyer up. There's going to be a trial. You and Grace and Lily, you're going to have to testify. I know. And the media's going to be all over this. Black market fertility clinic, stolen embryos, it's a big story. Your life's about to get very complicated. It's already complicated. Fair point. Torres leaned back. But here's the good news. With what we got today, plus the evidence on Grace's USB drive, plus the guy we grabbed at the hospital, flipping on Vance to save his own skin, we've got an airtight case. Vance is going away for a long time. His clinic is getting shut down. And all those families whose embryos were used without consent, they're going to get justice. What about Lily? What about her? Legally, who does she belong to? Torres was quiet for a moment. That's complicated. Technically, Grace has custody. But once we prove Lily was born from your and your wife's embryo, you've got a strong claim. And Grace already said she wants you to adopt her, right? Yeah. Then it's just paperwork. Slow, annoying paperwork, but paperwork. Torres smiled. Cole, that little girl's yours. It might take a few months to make it official, but she's yours. Ethan's eyes burned. I don't know how to be a father. Nobody does. You figure it out as you go. Torres stood. Come on, let's get you back to the hospital. I'm betting there's a 4-year-old who wants to see you kept your promise. The drive back took 15 minutes, but felt like an hour. Ethan kept seeing Vance's face, hearing his cold voice. We're finished. 20 years of work. How many children had been stolen? How many families destroyed? How many Lilies were out there not knowing where they really came from? At the hospital, Ethan took the stairs instead of the elevator. He needed to move, needed to burn off the adrenaline still coursing through him. When he reached Grace's floor, he stopped outside the door. He could hear Lily's voice inside singing something. One of those simple kid songs with words that didn't make sense. Grace was laughing. The sound was lighter than any sound Ethan had heard from her before. He pushed the door open. Lily saw him first. Her face lit up like sunrise. Ethan! She scrambled off the bed and ran to him, arms wide. Ethan caught her, lifted her up. She wrapped her arms around his neck and her legs around his waist, holding on like she'd never let go. You came back, she whispered against his shoulder. You promised, and you came back. Yeah, sweetheart, I came back. Grace watched from the bed, tears streaming down her face. Is it over? They're arrested. All of them. Torres says the case is solid. Grace closed her eyes. Thank God, thank God. When she opened them again, she was looking at Lily. Baby, come here for a second. Lily slid down from Ethan's arms and climbed back onto the bed. Grace took her hands. Lily, I need to tell you something important, and I need you to listen, okay? Okay? You know how I've always told you about your first mommy, about Sarah? Lily nodded. Well, Ethan, he was married to Sarah. He's the man your first mommy loved. Grace glanced at Ethan. And because of that, because of how you were born, that makes him your daddy, your real daddy. Lily looked at Ethan, then back at Grace. I know. Grace blinked. You know, huh? I've always known. Lily's voice was matter-of-fact. That's why you brought me here. That's why you said he'd keep us safe. Because he's my daddy. Grace laughed, a sound halfway between joy and sorrow. You're too smart for your own good. Does that mean I can call him daddy for real now? Not just in my head. Yeah, baby, if he's okay with it. Lily turned to Ethan. Are you okay with it? Ethan knelt beside the bed, his vision blurred. Yeah, Lily, I'm okay with it. Daddy, pump, Lily said, testing the word. Then louder, with a smile spreading across her face. Daddy. Ethan pulled her close, and this time when she wrapped her arms around his neck, it felt different. It felt real. It felt like the piece of his heart that had been missing since Sarah died had suddenly, impossibly been returned. Grace watched them, her expression soft. There's something else, she said quietly. Ethan, I need you to know I'm not trying to take her from you. I know she's yours. Genetically, emotionally, every way that matters. But these past 4 years, I've loved her like she was mine. I've been her mom. I know. And I don't want to stop, if that's okay, if you'll let me. Ethan looked at this woman who'd given up everything, risked everything to save a child who wasn't biologically hers, who'd kept a promise to a wife he'd lost. Grace, you didn't just keep her safe. You gave her love. You gave her a childhood in the middle of running and hiding. You made her feel secure when everything was falling apart. Ethan's voice was thick. You're not losing her, you're just gaining backup. Grace's face crumpled. Thank you, thank you. A knock on the door interrupted them. Torres poked her head in. Sorry to break up the moment, but we need statements. Grace, you up for talking? Yeah, I'm ready. Torres came in with a recorder and a notepad. For the next hour, Grace told her story. All of it. How she'd discovered the fertility scheme, how she'd confronted her supervisor, how she'd been there the night the surrogate died, and had made the split-second decision to take Lily instead of letting them erase her. I knew it was wrong, Grace said. Taking a baby without permission even to save her life. I knew I'd be running forever. But when I held her, when I looked at her face, I couldn't let them kill her. I just couldn't. You did the right thing, Torres said firmly. What you did, it was brave. Stupid, maybe, but brave. What happens now? Now we build a case against Vance and everyone involved. We contact families whose embryos were used. We shut down the operation completely. Torres looked at Ethan, and we start the legal process of making sure Lily ends up exactly where she belongs. How long will that take? Months, probably, but I'll expedite where I can. Torres closed her notepad. In the meantime, Cole, you keep doing what you're doing. Keep her safe, keep her happy, be her dad. After Torres left, a nurse came in with discharge papers for Grace. You're not 100%, the nurse said, but you're well enough to rest at home if someone's there to watch you. I'll watch her, Ethan said. Grace looked at him. You sure you don't have to? Grace, you just spent 4 years running to protect my daughter. The least I can do is make sure you don't trip over your own feet for the next week. Grace smiled. Okay, thank you. They left the hospital together, the three of them. Lily walked between Ethan and Grace, holding both their hands. In the parking lot, she looked up at Ethan. Are we going home now? She asked. Home. 447 Maple Street. The house Sarah had loved. The house Ethan had turned into a museum to grief. Yeah, Ethan said. We're going home. The drive was quiet. Grace dozed in the passenger seat. Lily hummed in the back that same song she'd been singing earlier. When they pulled into the driveway, Jenna's car was already there. Oh no, Ethan muttered. What? Grace asked. My sister. I forgot to call her back. Jenna came out the front door before Ethan even got out of the truck. She took one look at Lily, at Grace, at Ethan, and her eyes widened. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Ethan, is that... Jenna, meet Lily and Grace." Ethan helped Lily out of the truck. "Lily, this is your Aunt Jenna." "Aunt?" Lily looked confused. "My sister, which makes her your aunt." Ethan met Jenna's eyes over Lily's head. "Long story. Can we talk inside?" They went in. Jenna made coffee while Ethan got Grace settled on the couch and Lily distracted with coloring books. Then he told Jenna everything. The accident, the hospital, the embryos, Vance, all of it. Jenna listened without interrupting. When Ethan finished, she was crying. "Sarah," Jenna whispered. "She always wanted a baby so badly, and now," she looked at Lily. "She's beautiful, Ethan. She looks just like Sarah." "I know." Jenna wiped her eyes. "What do you need?" "Whatever you need, I'm here. Right now, I need to figure out how to be a dad, and I need to make sure Grace is okay, and I need to not fall apart because everything just changed in the span of 48 hours. You're not going to fall apart." Jenna squeezed his hand. "You're the strongest person I know. You'll figure it out." That night after Jenna left and Grace was asleep in the guest room, Ethan sat on the couch with Lily curled against his side. She was half asleep, her eyes drooping. "Daddy?" she murmured. "Yeah." "Are the bad men really gone?" "Yeah, sweetheart, they're gone. And we don't have to run anymore." "No more running. This is home now." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, "What if I forget Mommy Grace when I'm with you all the time?" Ethan's chest tightened. "You're not going to forget her. She's going to be right here with us. We're all going to be together." "Promise." "Promise." Lily's breathing evened out. Ethan sat there holding her, this child who was Sarah's legacy, and felt something he hadn't felt in 5 years. Hope. Ethan carried Lily upstairs and tucked her into bed, the same bed she'd slept in the night before. She didn't let go of his hand. "Stay," she whispered. "Please." So he stayed sitting in the rocking chair until her breathing deepened and her grip loosened. Even then, he didn't leave. He sat watching her sleep, this little person who'd appeared in his life like a miracle wrapped in chaos, and tried to comprehend that she was his. Really his. His phone buzzed. A text from Torres. "Vance is talking, trying to cut a deal. Won't work, but he's giving up names. This thing is bigger than we thought. Could be 50+ families affected." Ethan texted back, "How many children we don't know yet. Some embryos didn't result in viable pregnancies. Some families might not even know their child came from stolen embryos. This is going to take years to untangle." Years. Ethan looked at Lily. For 4 years she'd been running. Now she'd spend more years waiting for courts and lawyers to decide her fate. Except this time she wouldn't be running. This time she'd be safe. He hoped. Downstairs, Grace was awake, standing at the kitchen window with a cup of tea. She turned when Ethan came in. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "Haven't slept well in 4 years. Old habits." Grace smiled weakly. "Is she out?" "Yeah, finally." Ethan poured himself coffee even though it was nearly midnight. "Torres says Vance is cooperating. Giving up names." "Good. He should rot for what he did." "Grace, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why'd you really do it? Take Lily, I mean. You didn't know Sarah that well. You could have walked away, reported it anonymously, let someone else handle it." Grace was quiet for a long moment. "My sister," she finally said. "She died when I was 23. Cancer, like Sarah. She'd stored embryos, too, before treatment, but they got destroyed in a freezer malfunction, administrative error. Just gone like she'd never existed." Grace's voice shook. "So when I saw Sarah's file, when I saw they'd used her embryo and created this perfect little girl I don't know, it felt like a second chance. Like maybe I could save this child the way I couldn't save my sister's." "I'm sorry about your sister." "Me too." Grace wiped her eyes. "But Lily, she gave me purpose. Gave me a reason to keep going. These 4 years have been hell, but they've also been the most meaningful years of my life. Does that make sense?" "Yeah, it does." Grace set down her tea. "Ethan, I need you to understand something. I'm not trying to replace Sarah. I'm not trying to be Lily's real mom, but I love that little girl, and I don't know how to stop." "Then don't stop. Lily needs all the love she can get. God knows she's earned it." "But what does that look like long term? Do I live here? Do I get my own place? Do we co-parent? I don't even know what that means." Ethan hadn't thought that far ahead. He'd been too busy surviving the last 48 hours to think about logistics. "What do you want?" I want Lily to be happy. I want her to feel safe. And I want... Grace stopped, looking embarrassed. I want to be part of her life, but I don't want to intrude on yours. You're not intruding. Grace, you saved my daughter. You kept a promise to my wife. You're family now, whether you like it or not. Grace's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Besides, this house has 4 bedrooms, and it's just been me rattling around in it for 5 years. There's plenty of room. You're offering to let me stay. I'm offering you a place to figure things out. No pressure, no timeline, just, Ethan gestured vaguely, a place to land. Grace nodded slowly. Okay, thank you, really. They talked for another hour, working through practicalities. Grace would stay in the guest room. They'd share responsibilities with Lily. Grace would look for work once she was cleared medically. Ethan would handle the legal stuff with his lawyer. They'd figure out the rest as they went. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a traditional family structure, but then again, nothing about their situation was traditional. When Grace finally went to bed, Ethan sat alone in the living room. Sarah's picture stared at him from the mantel. For the first time in years, he actually spoke to it. I don't know if you can hear me, he said quietly. I don't know if there's anything after or if you're just gone. But if you're out there somewhere, I want you to know I'm going to take care of her, our daughter. I'm going to love her the way we would have loved her together. And I'm going to make sure she knows about you, about how much you wanted her, about how brave you were. His voice cracked. I miss you. God, I miss you. But this having Lily, it feels like getting a piece of you back. So thank you for whatever you did to make this happen. Thank you. The picture didn't respond. The house stayed quiet. But Ethan felt lighter somehow, like he'd been holding his breath for 5 years and could finally exhale. The next morning brought chaos of a different kind. The doorbell rang at 7. Ethan opened it to find 3 news vans parked on his street and a reporter with a microphone trying to get past the officer Torres had stationed outside. Mr. Cole, is it true you rescued your secret daughter from a fertility trafficking ring? Can you comment on... Ethan shut the door. Upstairs, Lily was already awake, peering out the window. Why are all those people here? She asked. Because people are nosy and like to stick their noses where they don't belong. Grace appeared in the doorway, looking pale. This is what I was afraid of. The media circus. Ethan's phone rang. Torres. I see you've met the vultures, she said. How do we make them go away? You don't. This is a big story, Cole. Black market babies, stolen embryos, a heroic firefighter finding his long-lost daughter. They're going to camp out until they get something. So what do we do? You have 2 choices. Hide inside and let them write whatever narrative they want. Or you control the narrative. Do one interview, tell your story your way, and then refuse all other requests. I don't want Lily's face on TV. Then we keep her out of it. But Grace's face is already out there. And yours. The story's happening whether you participate or not. Ethan looked at Grace. She nodded slightly. Okay, Ethan said. 1 interview, but we do it on our terms. Torres set it up for that afternoon. A local reporter, someone she trusted to be respectful. They'd do it at the house, but Lily would stay upstairs with Jenna. No cameras on her, no using her name. At 2 o'clock, the reporter arrived. Her name was Amanda Chen, mid-40s, kind eyes. She set up in the living room with a single camera operator. Thank you for doing this, Amanda said. I know this must be overwhelming. That's putting it mildly, Ethan said. They sat down. The camera started rolling. Amanda dove right in. Mr. Cole, 3 days ago, you pulled a woman and child from a sinking car. Can you walk me through what happened? Ethan told the story, the storm, the bridge, the rescue. He kept it factual emotions in check. And you didn't know this woman, this child. No, not then. But you learned something in the hospital that changed everything. Yes. Amanda leaned forward. What did you learn? Ethan glanced at Grace, who sat beside him. She nodded again. I learned that the child might be my daughter, mine and my late wife's, born from an embryo we'd stored years ago. Amanda's expression didn't change, but her eyes widened slightly. And how was that possible? Grace spoke for the first time. I was a nurse at St. Catherine's Hospital in Portland. I discovered that the fertility clinic was using stored embryos without patient consent, creating children for clients willing to pay enormous amounts of money. When I found out, when I realized what they were doing, I couldn't stay silent. So you took the child. I saved the child. The surrogate carrying her died. The clinic planned to claim the baby died too to erase any evidence of what they'd done. I couldn't let that happen. And you've been running ever since. For 4 years, moving every few months, never staying long enough for them to catch up until they did. Amanda turned to Ethan. And now you're fighting for custody of this child, a child you didn't know existed until 3 days ago. She's my daughter. Biologically, genetically, she's mine. And more than that, Ethan's voice caught, my wife died wanting nothing more than to have a child. She would have done anything to make that happen. And somehow, some way it did happen. I'm not letting anyone take that away. Not the people who stole our embryo. Not the system. No one. What do you want people to know? Ethan looked directly at the camera. I want people to know that there are families out there who might not know their children came from stolen embryos. Families who thought they were using anonymous donors or their own genetic material. And I want people to know that the clinic responsible saint, Catherine's, they didn't do this for noble reasons. They did it for money. They sold children, and they're going to pay for it. Amanda nodded. Ms. Sullivan, what would you say to other nurses or medical professionals who might suspect something similar is happening at their facilities? Speak up. I know it's scary. I know they'll threaten you, offer you money to stay quiet. But speak up anyway, because every day you stay silent is another day a family doesn't know the truth about their child. The interview lasted 30 minutes. When it was over, Amanda shook both their hands. This is going to make waves, she said. Are you ready for that, Deck? No, Ethan admitted. But we don't have a choice. Amanda smiled. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing, both of you. After she left, Grace collapsed on the couch. That was exhausting. Yeah, Ethan sat beside her. But it's done. Now they don't have a reason to camp on the lawn. You think they'll leave? Torres said they would, once they get their story. Upstairs, Lily was playing with Jenna. Ethan could hear her laughter, bright and unworried. For a moment, he just listened, soaking it in. She sounds happy, Grace said softly. Yeah, she does. I haven't heard her laugh like that in months, maybe years. Grace looked at Ethan. You're good for her. We're all good for her. That's the point. The interview aired that night. Ethan, Grace, and Jenna watched it together while Lily slept upstairs. Seeing himself on TV was surreal. He looked tired, older than his 38 years, but his voice was steady, his words were clear. His phone started ringing before the segment even ended. Friends from the station, his mother, people he hadn't talked to in years. Everyone wanting to know if it was true, if he really had a daughter, if they could help. Jenna fielded most of the calls. He'll call you back, she said over and over. Yes, it's true. No, we can't talk about details. Yes, he's okay. Thank you. I'll tell him. By 10 o'clock, Jenna had a list of 47 people who'd called. You're popular, she said dryly. I'm infamous. There's a difference. Grace's phone rang. She looked at the screen and went pale. It's a Seattle number. Don't answer it, Ethan said. I have to know. Grace answered. Hello? A woman's voice faint enough that Ethan could barely hear it. Grace listened for a minute, her expression shifting from fear to surprise to something that looked like hope. Yes, Grace said. Yes, I understand. Thank you. Thank you so much. She hung up and stared at her phone. What? Ethan asked. That was a woman named Patricia Morrison. Her daughter was born through St. Catherine's 5 years ago. She just saw the interview. She said, Grace's voice shook. She said the timing doesn't match. She was told the embryo was from an anonymous donor, but the paperwork showed conception 6 months before her surrogate got pregnant. She thinks her daughter might be one of the stolen embryo cases. Ethan felt sick. She saw the interview and connected the dots. She's calling Torres tomorrow. She wants to know the truth. Grace looked up. Ethan, I think this is just the beginning. I think there are going to be dozens of families calling. Hundreds, maybe. She was right. By morning, Torres called to say her office had been flooded with calls. Families questioning their children's origins. Surrogates coming forward with stories about paperwork that didn't add up. Former St. Catherine's employees admitting they'd suspected something was wrong, but had been too afraid to speak up. It's a dam break, Torres said. Everything Vance built is coming apart. Good, Ethan said. Let it burn. But the attention brought complications. More reporters, more calls, and something worse. 3 days after the interview, Ethan got a call from a lawyer in Boston. His name was Gerald Harding, and his voice was smooth and practiced. Mr. Cole, I represent the Whitmore family. They're the intended parents of the child currently in your custody. Ethan's blood went cold. What? My clients paid Dr. Vance $300,000 for a child created from specific genetic markers. They were told the surrogate died before delivery. They grieved that loss. But now they've learned the child survived, and they want her back. She's not property. You can't just... Actually, Mr. Cole, they can. They have a contract. They paid for the creation and delivery of that specific embryo. While the circumstances of how that embryo was obtained are certainly questionable, my clients acted in good faith. They didn't know the embryo was stolen. So what? They want to sue me for custody of my daughter? We're hoping it doesn't come to that. We're hoping you'll do the right thing and allow the child to be placed with her intended family. The right thing, Ethan's voice rose, the right thing is letting her stay with her biological father. The right thing is not treating a 4-year-old like she's a car that got delivered to the wrong address. Mr. Cole, I understand your attachment, but legally this is complicated. I'd advise you to get a lawyer, a good one, because this case is going to court one way or another. Harding hung up. Ethan stood frozen, phone still pressed to his ear. Grace appeared in the doorway. What's wrong? The people who paid for Lily, they want her back. Grace's face went white. No, they can't. She's yours. They have a contract. They paid for her. They paid for a stolen embryo that doesn't give them rights. Apparently their lawyer thinks it does. Ethan's hands shook. Grace, what if we lose? What if the court decides they have a stronger claim because they paid, because they intended to raise her? We won't lose. We can't. But the fear in Grace's eyes said she wasn't sure. Ethan called his lawyer immediately. Patricia Wu was sharp and expensive, but Jenna had insisted he needed the best. Patricia listened to everything, asked questions, took notes. This is complex, she finally said. Legally, we're in uncharted territory. There's no clear precedent for this exact situation. So what does that mean? It means we fight. We argue biological rights supersede contractual ones. We argue that the Whitmores knowingly participated in an illegal fertility scheme. We argue that removing Lily from your custody now would be traumatic and against her best interests. Will it work? I don't know, but I'll do everything I can. That night, Ethan sat Lily down. She was coloring at the kitchen table, completely oblivious to the storm gathering around her. Lily, I need to talk to you about something. She looked up. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble, but there's some stuff happening, legal stuff, and it might get confusing for a while. What kind of stuff? How did you explain to a 4-year-old that strangers were trying to take her away? There are some people who think you should live with them instead of here. Lily's face went blank. The same blank expression she'd worn when talking about the man in Spokane. The bad people. No, different people. People who didn't do anything bad, but they're confused about where you belong. I belong here. Lily's voice was small, but certain. With you. And Mommy Grace. I know, and we're going to make sure that doesn't change. But there might be some meetings, some people asking you questions. Can you be brave for me? Lily nodded, but her eyes filled with tears. I don't want to leave. I just got here. I just got to stop running. Ethan pulled her close. You're not going anywhere, I promise. Whatever it takes, you're staying right here. But even as he said it, he wondered if it was a promise he could keep. The next week was a blur of lawyers and phone calls and paperwork. The Whitmores filed for emergency custody. Patricia filed countermotions. A judge scheduled a hearing for 2 weeks out. Grace spent most of her time with Lily trying to keep her distracted. They baked cookies. They watched movies. They played games in the backyard while reporters with telephoto lenses tried to get pictures from the street. Jenna practically moved in helping manage the chaos. She fielded calls, organized documents, made sure everyone ate. You're not doing this alone, she told Ethan. Family sticks together. On the 10th day, Torres called with an update. We found more victims. 17 families so far whose embryos were used without permission. 6 more children like Lily who were born from stolen embryos and placed with families who didn't know. 6 more, Ethan repeated numbly. And that's just what we've uncovered so far. Vance's records are a mess. It could be twice that number. What happens to those kids, the ones already placed? That's up to the courts. But Cole, I have to warn you, the Whitmore case could set a precedent. Whatever the judge decides about Lily, it's going to impact all these other families. No pressure then. Yeah, no pressure. Ethan hung up and found Grace in Lily's room. They were reading together, Lily curled against Grace's side. We need to talk, Ethan said. Grace looked up, saw his face, and carefully extracted herself from Lily. Keep reading, baby. I'll be right back. In the hallway, she turned to him. What is it? Torres says there are 6 more kids like Lily. Stolen embryos placed with other families. Oh, God. Whatever happens in court, it's going to affect all of them. If the judge says the Whitmores have a right to Lily because they paid for her, it opens the door for every other family to lose their kids too. Grace leaned against the wall. So we're not just fighting for Lily, we're fighting for all of them. Yeah. Then we better win. The hearing was set for Monday morning. Ethan barely slept the night before. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through every possible argument, every possible outcome. When dawn finally came, he was exhausted, but wired. Grace was already up making coffee with shaking hands. Lily was still asleep. Jenna would watch her during the hearing. They'd decided not to tell her what was happening. Not yet. Not until they knew the outcome. At the courthouse, Patricia met them outside. The Whitmores are here. They brought their lawyer and a child psychologist. Of course they did, Ethan muttered. Inside, the Whitmores sat on the opposite side of the room. David and Michelle, mid-40s, expensively dressed. Michelle was crying quietly into a tissue. They looked like nice people. That was the worst part. They looked like nice people who'd been caught in the same nightmare Ethan had. The judge entered, a woman in her 60s named Judge Carol Hendricks. She had a reputation for being fair but tough. "This is a preliminary hearing," she said. "We're here to determine temporary custody arrangements while the larger legal questions are sorted out. I've reviewed the filings from both parties. I've read the police reports. I've looked at the evidence regarding St. Catherine's illegal activities." She looked at the Whitmores, then at Ethan. "This is an unprecedented situation. A child born from stolen genetic material placed with a family who believed they were acting legally, now claimed by her biological father. There's no easy answer here." Judge Hendricks called the Whitmores' lawyer first. He argued that his clients had acted in good faith, that they'd bonded with the idea of the child, that they'd grieved her supposed death and deserved a chance to raise her. Then Patricia stood. "Your Honor, with all due respect to the Whitmores' loss, they never met this child. They never held her. They never knew her. Ethan Cole, on the other hand, has spent every day of the past 2 weeks caring for her, and before that Grace Sullivan spent 4 years keeping her alive. This child knows them, trusts them, loves them. Removing her from their custody would be devastating." "The Whitmores could provide stability," the other lawyer countered. "A 2-parent household, financial security. Mr. Cole is a firefighter with a spotless record. Ms. Sullivan is a trained nurse. Together they form a stable, loving environment." Patricia's voice was steel. "And most importantly, they're the only family this child has ever known." Judge Hendricks listened to it all. Then she asked the question Ethan had been dreading. "I'd like to hear from the child." Patricia objected immediately. "Your Honor, she's 4 years old. This situation is already traumatic, which is exactly why I need to hear from her. I need to understand what she wants, what she needs." Judge Hendricks looked at Ethan. "I'll keep it brief. I'll keep it gentle, but I need to hear her voice." Ethan's throat closed. He nodded. They called Jenna, who brought Lily to the courthouse. Lily walked into the courtroom, holding Jenna's hand, her eyes wide and scared. When she saw Ethan, she ran to him. "Daddy," she whispered. "What's happening?" "It's okay, sweetheart. The judge just wants to talk to you for a minute." Judge Hendricks smiled warmly. "Hi, Lily. I'm Judge Hendricks. You can call me Carol if that's easier." Lily nodded but didn't speak. "I know this is scary, but I just have a few questions. Is that okay?" Another nod. "Lily, do you know why you're here today?" "Because people want to take me away." "Who told you that?" "Nobody. But I heard Daddy and Mommy Grace talking. They said people thought I should live somewhere else." Lily's lip trembled. "But I don't want to. I want to stay with them." "Why?" "Because they're my family. Daddy is my daddy, and Mommy Grace saved me. She kept me safe. I don't want to live with people I don't know." "Have you been happy living with your daddy?" "Yes." "What do you do together?" "We make pancakes, and he reads to me at night, and he doesn't get mad when I check the windows." Lily's voice got quieter. "And he makes me feel safe, like nothing bad can happen anymore." Judge Hendricks was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at the Whitmores. "Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore, I appreciate your position, but I've heard enough." She turned back to her bench and made some notes. The courtroom was silent. Ethan felt Grace grab his hand. Her palm was sweating. Finally, Judge Hendricks looked up. "Temporary custody will remain with Ethan Cole pending full resolution of the legal questions regarding the stolen embryos and parental rights. The child will stay in Mr. Cole's home, continue in his care with Ms. Sullivan's assistance. The Whitmores may petition for visitation, but that will be evaluated separately." Michelle Whitmore let out a sob. David put his arm around her. Their lawyer started to object, but Judge Hendricks held up her hand. "This is my decision. The child's stability and emotional well-being are paramount. We'll reconvene in 60 days for a full custody hearing. Until then, Lily stays where she is." The gavel came down. Ethan couldn't breathe. Grace was crying. Patricia was smiling. They'd won. For now, they'd won. Outside, Ethan knelt and pulled Lily close. "You're staying with us, sweetheart. You're staying home." Lily wrapped her arms around his neck and held on tight. "I knew you wouldn't let them take me. I knew it." That night, they celebrated with pizza and ice cream. Lily fell asleep on the couch between Ethan and Grace, a smile on her face. 60 days, Grace said softly. "Then we do it all again." "Yeah," Ethan looked down at Lily. "But we'll be ready." Because now he understood what he was fighting for. Not just custody, not just legal rights. He was fighting for his family. The 60 days passed faster than Ethan expected, and slower than he could stand. Every morning, he woke up wondering if this would be the day something went wrong. Every night, he tucked Lily in, wondering if it might be the last time. But life kept moving forward anyway. Lily started preschool at the local elementary. Grace found work at a clinic across town part-time to start. Ethan went back to the station, though his crew treated him differently now. Like he was fragile. Like he might break. "Stop looking at me like that," he told Martinez one afternoon. They were cleaning equipment after a call. "Like what?" "Like I'm made of glass." Martinez shrugged. "You've been through a lot, man. We're just worried." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're terrified." Martinez set down the hose he'd been coiling. "I've known you 10 years, Cole. I've never seen you scared of anything. But now you jump every time your phone rings." "Wouldn't you if someone was trying to take your kid?" "Yeah, I would, which is why I'm saying it's okay to not be fine." Ethan wanted to argue, but Martinez was right. He wasn't fine. He was holding it together with duct tape and prayer, waiting for the other shoe to drop. At home, Grace was doing the same. She'd stopped sleeping more than a few hours a night. Ethan would find her at 2 a.m, standing outside Lily's door, just listening to her breathe. "You need to rest," I told her one night. "I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see them taking her. I see her screaming for me and I can't do anything." "That's not going to happen." "You don't know that. Ethan, what if the judge changes her mind? What if the Whitmores find some legal loophole? What if—" "Grace," Ethan put his hands on her shoulders. "We're doing everything we can. We have the best lawyer, we have the evidence, we have Lily's voice saying she wants to stay. That has to count for something." "But what if it doesn't?" Ethan didn't have an answer for that. The DNA test results came back in week 3. Patricia called with the news, her voice carefully neutral. "The results confirm Lily is biologically yours and Sarah's. 99.9% certainty." Ethan sat down hard. He'd known, of course. Had known from the moment he looked into Lily's eyes. But having it confirmed, having scientific proof, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "Does this help our case?" "Enormously. The Whitmore's claim was based on contract. Yours is based on biology. Biology usually wins." "Usually." "There are exceptions, but Ethan, this is good news. Really good news." He hung up and immediately called Grace at work. "The DNA test came back. She's mine. Officially." Grace was quiet for a moment, then softly, "I knew she was, but hearing it, it's different, isn't it?" "Yeah." "Are you going to tell her?" "I don't know. What do I say? Hey, we got science to prove I'm your dad." "She already knows I'm her dad." "Then tell her anyway. She deserves to hear that it's official, that nobody can dispute it anymore." So that night after dinner, Ethan sat Lily down. "I got some news today. The test results came back. The ones that prove you're my daughter." Lily looked up from her coloring book. And they say you are. You're mine. Mine and Sarah's. The science proves it." "I told you I was." Lily went back to coloring, completely unfazed. "Can I have ice cream now?" Ethan laughed despite himself. "Yes, sweetheart, you can have ice cream." Later, when Lily was asleep, Grace found him sitting in the dark living room. "You okay?" she asked. "I keep thinking about Sarah, about how much she wanted this, a family, a child, and now I have exactly what she wanted, but she's not here to see it." "Maybe she is seeing it." Grace sat beside him. "I'm not religious or anything, but I like to think the people we love don't really leave us. They're just watching from somewhere we can't see." "You think Sarah's watching?" "I think if anyone could find a way to stick around and make sure her daughter was okay, it'd be Sarah." Grace smiled. "She talked about you a lot, you know, during her treatments, about how you'd bring her magazines and terrible hospital coffee, about how you'd sit with her for hours just holding her hand. She said you were the best thing that ever happened to her." Ethan's eyes burned. "I should have done more, should have fought harder for her." "You fought as hard as anyone could. Sometimes cancer just wins. That's not your fault." "But if I'd..." Ethan, stop. Sarah wouldn't want you torturing yourself. She'd want you doing exactly what you're doing. Loving Lily, building a life, moving forward. Grace put her hand over his. You're allowed to be happy, even though Sarah's gone, especially because Sarah's gone. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for a Monday. Ethan barely slept the night before. He kept running through worst-case scenarios, each one worse than the last. At dawn, Lily crawled into bed with him. Daddy, I'm scared. Me too, sweetheart. What if the judge says I have to go? Then we appeal, we fight harder, we don't give up. But what if we lose? Ethan pulled her close. We're not going to lose. Promise? He couldn't promise, not really, but he said it anyway. Promise. At the courthouse, the Whitmores were already there. This time they'd brought photos. Pictures of a bedroom they'd prepared. A nursery actually decorated in soft pinks and yellows. Pictures of themselves with other children, nieces, and nephews proving they were good with kids. Patricia had photos too. Pictures of Lily and Ethan making pancakes. Lily and Grace in the backyard. Lily's first day of preschool grinning with a gap-toothed smile. Moments, real moments. Not staged shots, but life. Judge Hendricks called the court to order. We're here for the full custody hearing regarding the minor child known as Lily Sullivan. I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties. I've read the DNA test results. I've consulted with child psychologists and legal experts on embryo theft cases. She looked at both sides. This is not an easy decision. Both parties have legitimate claims and legitimate concerns. The Whitmore's lawyer went first. He argued that his clients had been victims too, that they'd acted in good faith, that they'd paid for and expected a child that was taken from them by circumstances beyond their control. He argued that they could provide a traditional two-parent household with financial stability and established community ties. Patricia countered every point. Your Honor, the Whitmore's claim is based on a contract for an illegally obtained embryo. That contract is void. You cannot enforce a contract rooted in criminal activity. As for their ability to provide a traditional household, I'd argue that Lily already has a household, one she's thrived in, one where she feels safe for the first time in her life. The child has only been with Mr. Cole for 2 months, the other lawyer interjected. Hardly enough time to establish lasting bonds. 2 months of stability after 4 years of running and hiding. 2 months where she's attended school, made friends, stopped checking windows for threats. 2 months where she's been allowed to be a child. Patricia's voice was passionate. The Whitmores can offer things, Your Honor, but Ethan Cole offers something those things can't replace. He offers blood. He offers biology. He offers a connection to the mother who created her. He offers Lily her own history. Judge Hendricks held up her hand. I'd like to call the child welfare expert who evaluated the home. A woman in her 50s took the stand. Dr. Rebecca Marsh. She'd visited the house twice, interviewed everyone separately, observed Lily with both Ethan and Grace. Dr. Marsh, in your professional opinion, what is in the best interest of this child? Remaining with Mr. Cole and Ms. Sullivan. Dr. Marsh didn't hesitate. I've worked in child welfare for 23 years. I've seen thousands of placements, and I can tell you without reservation that Lily is thriving where she is. She's attached. She's secure. She calls Mr. Cole Daddy, not because someone told her to, but because that's who he is to her. Removing her from that environment would be traumatic, potentially devastating. But couldn't she form attachments with the Whitmores given time? Possibly, but why force that? Why uproot a child who's finally found stability? The Whitmores' loss is real, and I sympathize. But their desire for a child doesn't supersede Lily's need for continuity and security. The Whitmores' lawyer tried to undermine her testimony, but Dr. Marsh held firm. When she stepped down, Ethan felt the first real flicker of hope. Then the judge called him to the stand. Patricia had prepared him for this, but his hand still shook as he took the oath. The Whitmores' lawyer approached all polished sympathy. Mr. Cole, you suffered a terrible loss when your wife died. I'm sorry for that. Thank you. You must have been devastated. I was. Lonely. Ethan saw where this was going. Yes? And when this child appeared, claiming to be yours, it must have felt like a miracle. It did. Like getting your wife back in some way. Objection, Patricia said. Leading. Sustained. The lawyer rephrased. Mr. Cole, is it possible that your grief over your wife's death has affected your judgment regarding this child? No. You don't think there's any chance you're seeing what you want to see, that you've latched onto this child as a way to cope with loss. I'm not latching onto anything. Lily is my daughter. The DNA proves it. My feelings about Sarah have nothing to do with biology. But they might have something to do with your desperation to keep Lily, a desperation that might not be about what's best for her, but about what's best for you. Ethan's jaw clenched. You want to know what's best for Lily's stability, safety, love, and that's exactly what I'm giving her. Not because I'm desperate, not because I'm trying to replace Sarah, but because she's my daughter and I love her. You've known her for 2 months. I've known her for 2 months and I'd die for her. That's what being a parent means. The lawyer tried a few more angles, but Ethan held his ground. When he finally stepped down, Grace squeezed his hand. You did great, she whispered. The judge called for a recess. Ethan, Grace. Patricia and Jenna huddled in a conference room. Nobody spoke, they just waited. After 30 minutes that felt like 30 hours, they were called back. Judge Hendricks looked tired. I've made my decision, but first I want to say something. This case has highlighted serious flaws in our fertility laws. The fact that embryos can be stolen and used without consent is unconscionable. The fact that children can be created and sold is horrifying. I hope this case sparks legislative change, but that's not my job today. My job today is to decide what happens to one little girl. She looked at the Whitmores. Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore, I sympathize with your position. You acted in good faith. You believed you were legally acquiring a child, and you've suffered a loss. But the contract you signed was for an embryo obtained through illegal means. I cannot enforce that contract. To do so would be to reward the very criminal enterprise we're trying to dismantle. Michelle Whitmore started crying. David put his arm around her. Judge Hendricks turned to Ethan. Mr. Cole, the DNA evidence proves Lily is your biological daughter. More importantly, the testimony from Dr. Marsh and others demonstrates that Lily has formed a secure attachment to you and Ms. Sullivan. Removing her from your care would cause significant psychological harm. Ethan's heart was pounding so hard he could barely hear. Therefore, I'm awarding full legal custody to Ethan Cole with shared custody rights for Grace Sullivan, who has demonstrated extraordinary commitment to this child's welfare. The Whitmore's petition is denied. The gavel came down. The courtroom erupted. The Whitmore's lawyers was objecting. Patricia was shaking Ethan's hand. Grace was crying. Jenna was hugging both of them. Ethan just sat there stunned. It was over, really over. Lily was his. Outside, reporters were waiting. Ethan ignored them. He called Jenna's house where Lily was staying with Jenna's kids. It's over, he said when Jenna's husband answered. We won. Can I talk to her? Daddy? Lily's voice was small and scared. What happened? We won, sweetheart. You're staying with us. Forever? It's official. Really? Really? Lily started crying. Not sad crying, but relief crying. The kind of crying that comes when you've been holding your breath so long, you forgot what air felt like. I want to come home. We're on our way. They picked her up 20 minutes later. Lily ran out of the house and threw herself at Ethan, wrapping her legs around his waist and her arms around his neck. You did it, she sobbed. You kept me. You really kept me. Always, Ethan whispered. I'm always keeping you. That night, they had a celebration dinner. Jenna and her family. Some of the guys from the station. Torres, who brought a stuffed bear for Lily that said, World's Best Kid on it. Even Patricia came, though she stayed for only one glass of wine before rushing off to another case. Lily was the center of it all, laughing and playing, completely unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. Or maybe she was aware. Maybe she understood better than any of them what they'd won. After everyone left after Lily was in bed, Ethan and Grace sat on the porch. It was a clear night, stars scattered across the sky like someone had spilled diamonds. I can't believe it's really over, Grace said. It's over. What happens now? Now. Ethan smiled. Now we live. We do the boring stuff. School pickups and dentist appointments and arguing about bedtimes. Normal life. I don't know if I remember how to do normal. Me neither. But we'll figure it out. Grace was quiet for a moment. Ethan, I need to say something about us. About this arrangement. Ethan's stomach tightened. Okay. I don't want to live here forever as just Lily's other parent. I want my own life, my own space eventually, but I also don't want to lose this, lose her, lose... Grace stopped looking embarrassed. Lose you? You're not losing anything. Grace, your family. That doesn't change whether you live here or across town or across the country. You're Lily's mom. Ethan struggled for the right word. You're important to both of us. Important? Grace repeated with a small smile. That's one way to put it. What would you call it? I don't know. Friends doesn't seem big enough for what we've been through. Partners is too clinical. Family is complicated because we're not related. Grace looked at him. Maybe we don't need a word. Maybe we just need to know we're in this together. Together, Ethan agreed. I like that. 3 months later, Grace moved into an apartment 15 minutes away. She came over most days anyway, usually for dinner, often staying late to put Lily to bed. The rhythm they'd established didn't change much. They were still a team, still a family, just spread across 2 addresses instead of 1. Lily adjusted better than Ethan expected. Mommy Grace needs her own space, she explained to him solemnly. Everyone needs their own space. That's what Miss Rebecca taught us in school. Miss Rebecca is a smart lady. She says families come in all shapes. Some have 1 parent, some have 2, some have 3 or 4 or more. It doesn't matter how many. It matters that they love each other. That's true. So we're a family, you and me and Mommy Grace, right? Right? Lily smiled. Good, because I like our family. 6 months later, Torres called with an update on the Vance case. He took a plea deal, 25 years. He'll die in prison. Good. We've identified 32 families whose embryos were stolen, 14 children born from those embryos. Most are staying with the families they were placed with, but a few are in situations like yours. Biological parents fighting for custody. How's that going? Mixed results. Some judges are following Hendrix's precedent, some aren't. It's going to be years before all of this is sorted out. And the families, the ones who had their embryos stolen. Some are relieved their genetic children are alive and thriving. Some are devastated they didn't get to raise them. Some are angry at everyone involved. It's complicated. Yeah, it is. Cole, I wanted to tell you something. What you did fighting for Lily, it gave a lot of other families courage to fight too. You started something. I just wanted to keep my daughter. I know, but it meant something bigger than that, so thank you. After Torres hung up, Ethan sat thinking about all those families, all those children, all those complicated, messy, beautiful situations born from tragedy. He thought about the Whitmores who'd lost the child they'd dreamed of. He thought about Grace who'd given up everything to save a stranger's baby. He thought about Sarah who'd never know the daughter she'd helped create. And he thought about Lily upstairs doing homework completely oblivious to how many lives had been changed because of her existence. A year after the custody hearing, Ethan officially adopted Lily. Grace was there standing beside him as he signed the papers. Lily wore a new dress Jenna had bought her and couldn't stop smiling. Does this mean I get a new last name? Lily asked. If you want one. Can it be Cole like yours? Yeah, sweetheart. It can be Cole. Lily Cole. She tried out. I like it. The judge who finalized the adoption was Judge Hendrix. She smiled at them from the bench. Mr. Cole, Ms. Sullivan, I've presided over a lot of adoptions, but this one's special. This one reminds me why I do this job. To protect children, to keep families together, to make sure love wins. She looked at Lily. Young lady, you are very lucky to have these people fighting for you. I know, Lily said seriously. They're the best. Yes, they are. Judge Hendrix signed the final paper. Congratulations, you're officially a family. They celebrated at Lily's favorite restaurant, the one with terrible pizza and an arcade in the back. Lily played games with Jenna's kids while the adults talked. Can you believe it's been a year? Grace said. Feels like longer. Feels like she's always been here. In some ways, she has been, just waiting for us to find her. Ethan watched Lily laugh as she lost at skee-ball for the 3rd time. Grace, I've been meaning to ask you something. Okay. When you took Lily that night when you ran, did you ever regret it even once? Grace thought about it. No, not even when things were really bad. Not even when we were sleeping in the car and I didn't know where our next meal was coming from. Because every time I looked at her, I knew I'd made the right choice. Some decisions you make with your head. Some you make with your heart. Taking Lily was a heart decision. And coming to me, also a heart decision. I didn't know you, not really. Just stories Sarah told me. But I knew you'd protect her. I knew you'd love her. Grace smiled. I was right. We both were. That night, after everyone had gone home, Ethan tucked Lily into bed. She was tired but happy, clutching the stuffed animal she'd won at the arcade. Daddy, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think my first mommy, Sarah, do you think she knows about me? Ethan's throat tightened. Yeah, sweetheart, I think she knows. Do you think she's happy that I'm with you? I think she's the happiest she's ever been, because the thing she wanted most in the whole world was for me to have you. And now I do. I wish I could have met her. Me too, but you know what? You're just like her. Your smile, your laugh, the way you scrunch up your nose when you're thinking hard about something. When I look at you, I see her. So in a way, she's still here. Lily thought about that. That's nice. I like that. Me too. Daddy. Yeah. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart, more than you'll ever know. Ethan kissed her forehead and turned out the light. Downstairs, Grace was doing dishes even though Ethan had told her she didn't have to. You don't have to do that, he said again. I know, but I want to. Grace handed him a dish to dry. It's nice, feeling useful, feeling like I belong. You do belong. I know that now, but it took a while to believe it. They finished the dishes in comfortable silence. When Grace left, Ethan walked her to her car. Same time tomorrow, Grace asked. Same time tomorrow. Lily has that field trip. Someone needs to chaperone. I already put in for the day off. Of course you did, Grace smiled. You're a good dad, Ethan. I'm trying. You're succeeding. After Grace drove away, Ethan stood in the driveway for a moment. The house was quiet. The street was empty. The night was peaceful in a way it hadn't been for a long time. He thought about everything that had happened. The rescue, the revelations, the running and fighting and fear, all of it leading to this moment, this quiet, ordinary, perfect moment. Inside, the house smelled like home. Lily's backpack was by the door. Grace's jacket was draped over a chair. Sarah's picture still sat on the mantel, but it didn't hurt to look at anymore. Now it just made him smile. Ethan walked upstairs one more time to check on Lily. She was sound asleep, one arm around her stuffed animal, completely at peace. He stood in the doorway watching her breathe this little person who'd changed everything, who'd dragged him out of grief and back into life, who'd made him a father in the space of a heartbeat. Thank you, Ethan whispered to the universe, to Sarah, to whatever force had brought Lily to him. Thank you for trusting me with her. I won't let you down, I promise. Downstairs, his phone buzzed. A text from Grace. Forgot to tell you, Lily's teacher said she wrote the best essay in class today, about her family, about how she used to be lost, but now she's found. I'm crying. Thought you should know. Ethan smiled and texted back, she was never lost. She was just taking the long way home. He set his phone down and looked around the house one more time, at the toys scattered across the floor, at the finger paintings on the fridge, at all the beautiful, chaotic evidence of life happening. The river had taken Sarah from him, but in a way it had also given him Lily, not as a replacement, as a gift, a second chance, a new beginning. And standing there in his living room in the house that was finally a home again, Ethan understood that love doesn't end when people die. It transforms. It finds new shapes. It creates new families in unexpected ways. Sarah had loved him enough to give him a daughter he'd never expected. Grace had loved Lily enough to give up everything for her, and Ethan loved them both. Both enough to build a life that honored all of it. The loss, the sacrifice, the hope. Outside, the river flowed quietly in the dark, carrying water from the mountains to the sea, constant and endless. Tomorrow it would still be there, and so would they. Ethan and Lily and Grace, a family forged in chaos and sealed in love. The river had tried to take everything. Instead, it had brought him home,